Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and today we are talking about two huge games. We have interesting news on both. One is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. We've been talking a lot about this game lately, and we will be continuing to do so. It's coming out on December 4th, and I am so hyped for this game. We have beautiful new screenshots for Metroid Prime 4, and some other news about this game. But then the other game we'll be talking about today is the Duskbloods. This is an exclusive title coming to Nintendo Switch 2 next year. It's being made by From Software, the makers of Dark Souls and Elden Ring, and apparently there's a leak out there about this game that's very interesting. So we're going to be talking about that as well today. With the release of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond fast approaching, I've been thinking about different ways to enjoy this game on the Nintendo Switch 2 where it has a 120 FPS mode. So I've been looking for different monitors that run up to at least 120 Hz, which is why I'm so thankful that UPerfect has sent over the UColor 19 Apex, a 19-inch 4K monitor QLED that runs at 144 Hz that also can function as a computer display with HDR. This monitor is pretty great. As you can see here, I'm just sort of pretending to finally play Metroid Prime 4 Beyond on this monitor that could run the game at 120 frames per second. So yes, you could use this monitor, plug it into your computer as a nice 4K display with HDR support running up to 144 frames per second. Or you can take it on the go. It has this nice little kickstand so you can prop it up wherever you might be, and you can plug in your phone and use it to watch different streaming apps or whatever else you want to put on there from your phone. Or you can plug in your game console like a Nintendo Switch or a Nintendo Switch 2, and it works beautifully. Now, to play Nintendo Switch 2 in the best way possible on this monitor, you do want to make sure to change around a setting from Switch to Switch 2, but once doing so, you can enjoy Nintendo Switch 2 games at 4K 60 frames per second, or depending on the game, up to 1440p 120 frames per second. This monitor gives you those options to enjoy the Nintendo Switch 2, and there's always something so nice about having a screen right in front of you, and something bigger than when you're playing in handheld mode. So it works really well, and I gotta say, the screen, it feels crisp, I love the colors, it's vibrant, it's sharp, but I was actually quite surprised by the volume levels. Now, of course, you can plug in a headset and you can enjoy the game or show whatever you're doing on that monitor just like that, but if you don't want to plug in a headset, you don't need to. The volume levels are actually greater than what I would expect from a monitor like this, and so I've been finding this monitor to be quite convenient between the great volumes, the beautiful screen, the variety of ways you can use this monitor, the kickstand you can prop up and take with you wherever you want to go, and that even includes the carrying case. It's nice and soft on the inside, you can feel quite secure with the monitor in there, and of course it has a pouch to store in all the different cables you need to plug this into different devices, which it does come with a few USB-C cables and an HDMI as well. I also think it should be highlighted that, like the Nintendo Switch 2, this monitor can be used in a variety of ways, which can give you a lot more options to find a really good play setting or comfortable viewing experience. Say for example, you're trying to find the right place to play Switch 2 with mouse controls. Well, this monitor, you can prop it up on any table or flat surface you would like, and maybe that's the best place to play Switch 2 in mouse mode. But yes, I found this monitor to be pretty great. I really enjoy playing games on it like Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, so I strongly recommend checking this one out. There are a couple of different discounts available, so I strongly encourage you to check out this monitor and other devices from UPerfect by checking the links in the description below. So getting to the Metroid Prime 4 stuff first. Here we have Nintendo of Europe posting these screenshots of Metroid Prime 4, and as you can see, these 4 screenshots form Samus. Nothing new there, it just looks kind of neat. However, when you click on the pictures, there's more. So it's a very clever little tweet put together here from Nintendo of Europe that looks really nice, very much appreciated, and I think this is simply worth pointing out because guess what? This is Nintendo marketing Metroid Prime 4. This is something we've been hoping Nintendo would do for some time, and now that Kirby Air Riders is out there, all their focus appears to be Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. We even have Nintendo of America posting new screenshots as well. Here they say, there's beauty in the unknown. Pre-order Metroid Prime 4 Beyond and explore the planet Viros on December 4th, available for Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch. So taking a closer look at these screenshots here we see Chrono Tower. We've seen these areas before, but we haven't seen quite these specific screenshots before. There's a little bit we can sort of take away from this. So we take a look at Chrono Tower here. It looks like a giant tower in the middle of this desert. But what I will point out here, we can see the Great Mines here in the background. This is like a giant drill, it appears. And then also we can see the volcano off here to the right. That is where the flare pool region is, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Also, something else worthy of note perhaps is that it almost looks like there's light rays here, which I think is interesting. But the bigger point I want to get to, and we covered this a month or two ago, but you look at the vast expanse of a Soul Valley, this desert where Chrono Tower is located in the middle of, and you can see that it's kind of like depressed ground, like almost like one giant crater of sand, and you see these rocky formations all around. Almost like they could potentially fill it up with water, and it's just one giant sort of ocean or massive lake, and Chrono Tower would then function like an island. And the same with the Great Mines, as you look here, like the top of it would be above the water if it's even still there. And so I find this to be very, very interesting, because we have theorized that there may be time travel in Metroid Prime 4, as talked about by Kensuke Tanabe in an interview many years ago. We've seen mention of both space and time from the box art, and there are other details as well, such as the Lemorne talking about creating a teleporter that traverses across both space and time. So there's been a lot of hints that maybe time travel will be involved with Metroid Prime 4. So if there is going to be this moment where the time travel is involved with the gameplay to go to a different time on this planet, maybe a desert that usually is an ocean far into the future, we can go back in time and this is all an ocean. We've actually even seen some footage where Viola changes around, or something like Viola, that hovers over a liquid surface. So we already know they've worked around with some of the mechanics in Metroid Prime 4 surrounding Viola to maybe work with a liquid surface that could maybe also function on a large body of water, if that's the direction they're going in here. But taking a look at these other screenshots here we see Fury Green, and it looks beautiful. This is wallpaper material here. I love, love, love this screenshot. Fury Green is just so, so beautiful. Next, we have our best look at the Ice Belt area. This is the snowy area. We can see a vast expanse of snow here. This is likely, at least I think so, probably the place where we have this big battle with all these snow wolves, as we've seen from the trailers. So that's probably there. We can also make out the zip line here. It looks like there's pods that are being transported across. We can see all these curved mountains. We can see what I am assuming is the laboratory off into the distance over here. And so is our best look at this area of the game so far. We've seen it before, but we haven't seen it with this much clarity before, with nothing else getting in the way. So this is a great look at the area. We also get a nice look at the flare pool, and this is a different perspective of this area we've seen. We can see up here, you can almost make out that this is basically the inside of a volcano, as we've talked about from the desert area. You can see the volcano over here. It's the same area as we've deduced, and it looks like, yeah, there's gonna be smoke coming out, and it comes out of the top of the volcano. So this is a volcano area, and there's some sort of factory mechanical structuring happening inside of it. And actually taking a closer look here, it almost looks like they have a face. Like you see like eyes, teeth, very interesting. Maybe these are arms or legs. I'm not saying it actually is a face, but that's just kind of how it looks, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is by design. So it's a great look at the flare pool area. And yet we have more screenshots here, other looks at Fury Green. We can see the big bridge here that's very messed up, clearly. We also get a look at this area here where we meet Miles McKenzie. We also have another beautiful shot here from within the jungle. This is one of my favorite shots so far. Very, very wallpaper worthy, I would say. And then we also have this shot here, which is basically what we saw earlier, just a slightly different angle. So yeah, those are the new Metroid Prime 4 screenshots that have been shared, and the game just looks beautiful. But let's get into some news here. So we have the rating summary officially from the ESRB for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and this is what it says. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is rated T for teen by the ESRB with animated blood and violence. Also includes in-game purchases. This is a first-person adventure game in which players assume the role of a space bounty hunter who must find a way home. Players explore a planet to uncover its mystery while engaging in combat against alien creatures and space pirates. Players use power beams, missiles, and elemental attacks to battle enemies in frenetic combat. Combat is highlighted by blaster effects, frequent explosions, and screen-shaking effects. A handful of alien creatures and boss characters emit blue-green blood when shot. So, I don't think there's anything too new that we can extrapolate from here. It's a nice summary of everything we sort of noticed already. But maybe you haven't picked up on everything. Maybe you haven't been watching every single theory analysis video we've been putting out. But for example, yes, we already know that there are elemental attacks. We've noticed that with the bottom left of the screen, there are like these different D-pad options. One of them is the missile, and 3 others are elemental attacks: fire, ice, and volt, electricity. And these elemental attacks seem to be taking up usage of a second set of ammunition that's kind of like the missiles, but it's its own separate bar there. And so you have those elemental attacks, and then you have your missiles, and then you have your power beam. And here they say power beams. What I have also noticed from some of the footage is that it does appear that the beam does change across different battles, and so I think it suggests that what we're looking at here for Metroid Prime 4, the way the attacks are going to work, you're going to have your missiles, you're going to have your elemental attacks that are similar to the missiles, and you may have some different combo attacks there, like power missile combos and charge missile attacks and such, like we've seen from prior Prime games, but also the beam weapon, Samus's arm cannon, will be stackable like some of the 2D Metroid games or like Metroid Prime 3. So you're going to kind of get the best of both worlds, where you can switch around the different elemental attacks like Prime 1 and 2, but also you're going to have the stackable beam weapon like Prime 3 and a lot of the 2D Metroid games. And then of course you still have your missile attacks as well. Something I don't see here that is maybe a little concerning, but also maybe not that surprising. There's no mention of red normal blood here. And the troopers are in this game, they are people, so if they are to bleed out, there would be red. Of course, that doesn't mean they won't die, that doesn't mean there isn't going to be some dark moments with them. They just may not depict there being blood. Like when we have seen different characters die in prior Metroid games, they didn't show blood when Rundus died, they didn't show blood when Quiet Robe died. So I'm sure they could probably do something similar here, where if the troopers do die, if any of them die, they're going to show them die in a convincing way. There's just not going to be blood. So the game can stay rated teen and appeal to a larger audience than if it were rated M. So that's what I think is going on here. I don't think it means that there won't be any death of any characters. Moving past that though, we have here Metacritic saying that we should be expecting reviews toward the beginning of next week, which that is expected, but it's nice to hear that from Metacritic, and so reviews should be coming out early next week. This time next week, we could be talking about Metroid Prime 4 reviews, maybe the day after, I think Tuesday, but yeah, we're getting really close, and journalists likely are already playing this game, they probably already have the game in their hands, and people are experiencing what this game has to offer. And it's very interesting. Like, what other secrets are there? I'm sure there are many that are very cool, and we're going to start to learn about them next week. Next week, the game is coming out. Next Thursday. We are less than 10 days away from Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and that's kind of crazy. Now, if you've gone this far into the video, let me simply point out that I do have this goal to reach 60,000 subscribers, so your subscription, likes, comments, hyping the video, it would all make a huge difference. But moving on to this next story here, there have been various articles talking about this new leak regarding the Duskbloods. Now, I've been trying to find the original post, and most articles are just citing Zylstorm here, who did not share a link to their source, but this is coming from a Chinese journalist, Jiwin apparently, and this is what they've been translated to have said. The next thing for Night Rain DLC should be the trailers for the 2 new characters, followed by the final launch trailer. So Night Rain DLC is coming out fairly soon. They're going to obviously have a trailer for that, so assuming this happens exactly as being said, that's more reason to believe this leaker here, or journalist, or I guess somewhat of both. But here they say, after that, I hope it's finally time for the Duskbloods to start dropping news. From what I know, this project was greenlit even earlier than the marketing period for Sekiro's release, and it is the From Software title that has spent the longest time purely on gameplay prototyping and validation among all their games so far. Although it's PvEVP, it reportedly contains many innovative elements that the team themselves are very proud of. Maybe it will once again provide inspiration to a lot of game developers, just like Sekiro did. And so here, Gwyn is suggesting, based off what they've heard, that the Duskbloods is going to be a very innovative game, similar to Sekiro, which had quite a bit of a chain reaction here, and they've actually spent more time prototyping the gameplay and working on different ideas for the Duskbloods than any other From Software game beforehand. So that's actually a very, very big deal, and it could suggest some very positive things about this game when it does come out next year. And I do think people are underestimating just how big of a deal the Duskbloods could be. Let's keep in mind that the Duskbloods is coming from the makers of Elden Ring. Elden Ring is huge. I love most From Software games, and we're getting an exclusive one for Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo Switch 2 has had fantastic momentum currently and continually being the best-selling console of all time by a margin of a few million copies by this point, and it seems to be getting bigger. The Switch 2 has been doing really, really well, and going into next year, things could pick up even more so. We have Zelda's 40th anniversary, we have the possibility for the next 3D Mario, we know we're going to get the next generation of Pokemon, and according to leaks from that, it's going to be exclusive for Switch 2. Gen 10 Pokemon exclusive for Switch 2 with MMO elements taking a significant leap, finally using a new engine after they've been stuck with the same engine for so many generations. And then we have the Duskbloods, which they've been working on for a very, very long time, and it's finally coming out next year for Switch 2. And the thought is this game is going to bring about a lot of very exciting, interesting, innovative ideas here. And so people might be sleeping on the Duskbloods. I think a lot of people think, oh, it's a multiplayer From Software game, not that big of a deal. But this suggests that it is a very, very big deal. I personally haven't gone around to playing Night Rain yet. I have played Elden Ring through all of the DLC as well. I will eventually play Night Rain, and maybe that's a good idea to play because it is a multiplayer From Software game, and maybe that can give us some perspective on what to expect for the Duskbloods. But Night Rain wasn't a full game. The Duskbloods, from what we understand, absolutely is, and they've been working on it for a far longer amount of time here. So I definitely think we should be expecting that the Duskbloods will be more substantial than Night Rain. But these are exciting times. We are closing the year with Metroid Prime 4 Beyond after such a long wait. We've waited over 8 years since they announced the game was in development back in summer of 2017, and really, we've been waiting even longer since the last entry in the Metroid Prime series was Metroid Prime 3 Corruption that came out back in 2007. It's actually been over 18 years since that point. People have been born and have become official legal adults since the last time a Metroid Prime game came out. So now there's a whole new generation of people that can come to love Metroid Prime, and I think this is going to be a big moment for the series. I am so excited. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I will see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.